Welcome to the fastest stop in town. Today on Masechta Sukkah Daf Mem Vav, we are going to begin on Mem Hey Amid Beis, about 7 lines from the bottom. Am Rabbi Yehuda Mishmuel, Lulav Shiva, Sukkah Yom Echad. When it comes to the taking of the lulav, the bracha is said all 7 days. However, when it comes to Sukkah, it's only on the first day, and that's it. As Rashi says, Sukkah Shiva is Bracha, Lulav Yom Echad, etc. So my taima, Lulav the Tomsky Leilos Miyamim Kol Yoima Mitzvah Nafshehu. When it comes to lulav, as we established, because it's only during the day, after all it says L'kachlam B'Yom Rishon, so therefore the night breaks it up, and therefore you have to make another bracha. Sukkah the Tomsky Leilos Miyamim Kul Shiva Kechad Yoma Richadamu. However, because when it comes to Sukkot, it's day and night, there's no hefsek, there's no time it's stopped, as we learned out, even though it says Sukkot Teis Shiva Yamim. However, we did learn on, about 5 blot ago, that we learned out from the Miluyim that just the Miluyim was days and night, and so too is day and night. So therefore the bracha is not said when it comes to the sukkah, except on the very first time. Okay, so it's a fascinating pshat. Rabbi Bar Bar Chana and Rabbi Yochanan, no, Sukkah Shiva, Lulav Yom Echad. He actually flips it and says, no, Sukkah is actually 7 days. So you see the bracha of Leishiv Sukkah, Lulav is only 1 day. So my time is Sukkah, the rice of Shiva, Lulav the Rabbanan, Sagilu B'chad Yoima. Let's tell you, this is the rice of the Rabbanan, which is question 11. Matam demande the lulav shiva of bracha mashkin sukkah yom echad. Matam demande sukkah shiva of bracha mashkin lulav yom echad. So it's either the rest of the Rabbanan, or whether or not the day is a new day and there's a hefsek between the day and the night, like by lulav. Kiyasa Rabbi Noam Rabbi Yochanan echad zeh shiva. It doesn't make a difference on the sukkah or the lulav. The din is you make a bracha each day. Rav Yosef naked the Rabbi Merchana biyadach. It makes sense that we should follow this opinion. The Kul Amaroi Kaimi Kavasi B'Sukkah, because all the Amarayim, they do this when it comes to the dinim of Sukkah, that they make a bracha every single time, every single day. Meisvei for the Gemara, as we continue to Mem Vav Amud Aleph, a person who makes, Rashi says on Erev Yom Tov, a lulav for himself. Made the bracha of Shechiyanu. Okay. However, let's say you didn't do that. Not the Lulatzes bo. You actually are now, it's Yom Tov, you're about to shake the lulav and esrog. So Omer bracha Shechiyanu Tzasav Tzivanu al Netilas lulav. So it's interesting. The Shechiyanu is said at a separate time according to Shita at the time it's being made. Ya'aval pi sheberach olav yom rishon. Even though you made the bracha on the lulav 1 day, chayzim mavarach kol shiva. You make the bracha all 7 days. So Oisa Sukkah. Just obviously a question according to the Yomer says that the lulav is only 1 day. So you say the bracha of Shechiyanu. Nichnas leishiba. Once you actually go into the sukkah, and here's the next question. Once you say the bracha the first time on the sukkah, so kasha lulav, kasha sukkah. So again, according to those who say that the sukkah is supposed to be said, the leishiv of sukkah, every single day. So it's a question. So so you can make a simple distinction when it comes to the lulav, that when the Beis HaMikdash is kayim, so therefore the din is that you would have to make a bracha every single time. So Rashi says, Mevarchin alav b'mikdash kol shiva d'midaraisa. It's a din deraisa. And therefore, again, if it's totally on deraisa d'Rabbanan, so that's how you explain the lulav. However, Bisman Azeh, in which it's a Zecher Mikdash, it's not a Deraisa, so therefore it's only done 1 day. El Sukkah, Sukkah Kasha. So you say Tanahi, it's a Machlokes Tanaim, exactly how many do you say a bracha every day or not on the Sukkah, the Sanya? Tefillin. Kolzman Shemanichin, anytime that you're putting them on, it says Rashi, even if let's say if you'll Choltzin, you take them off, and then you put them back on 100 times in the same day, so Mavarchlin, you make a bracha every single time. Every Rabbi. On this Rashi says, "V'gabi sukkanami." After the little mafseki leilos mayomim, even though there's no break between day and night, you can go in the sukkah any time. Mevarchin aleh b'chol yom It's just like a person who takes off their tefillin and puts them on. You say another bracha. So too, if you leave the sukkah and you go back, you say another bracha. No, you only need to say the bracha on the tefillin once in the morning. And Rashi says, "Sukkah nami kivan kechad yoimahu sagi bevracha shel yom rishon." So just one day is enough. Itmar. Abai Omer Hilchos Rabbi, Rabbi Omer Hilchos Rabbanan. So the machlokas exactly who he passed away. So Omer Rab Mari Bara Devash Shmuel Chazina Leilu Rabbi saw Rava Deloy Ovid Kishmaise. He actually doesn't do like which was said regarding tefillin. El Matim B'Koy, you get up, B'Oil basic case, you go to the bathroom, and Nafik. When you left, Mash Yadi, he would wash his hands, which you're supposed to do. B'Manach Tefillin B'Varich. So he would put on the tefillin and he would say a bracha. Again, of course, we put on the tefillin doesn't mean maybe he didn't tie them yet. Let's say he had to use the bathroom again. Once again, he'll go into the bathroom, but nothing he washes his hands. So we see that every single time he would continue to wash his hands and say another bracha when he put on the tefillin. And therefore we should do the same thing, that every single time you should make a bracha. I saw him similar to what we just saw, that every single time you put on this tefillin, you take them off, you would always make a bracha every single time. Anytime there would be mishamish them, like every time like he would touch them. What's the idea of that? So Rashi quotes the Gemara in Yomi on Daf Zayin that we learn out about not being able to, how the importance of constantly having in mind that you're wearing tefillin. You shouldn't have hesach hadas, and we learn out from the tzitz. Even though the tzitz, it's supposed to be al mitzcha tomid, you have to constantly remember it's on your forehead, the Kohen Gadol. So that only had tzit kodesh Hashem, as we saw in the beginning, I think Daf Hey in this Masechta, kodesh Hashem. And it's only one askara of Hashem. But when it comes to tefillin, Hashem's name is mentioned many times. Certainly have to be careful. Rabbi Yehuda Shmuel, mitzvahs lulav kol shiva. So again, according to him, he also says they have to make a bracha every single day. Again, Rashi once again says mitzvahs lulav shiva, mitzvahs lulav shivas, bracha. Rabbi Yeshua ben Levi, Omer Yom Rishon, mitzvahs lulav. First day is a mitzvah lulav. Mekan v'elch mitzvahs zakenim. Afterwards, it's a mitzvah zakenim. So what's mitzvah zakenim? Rabbi Yochanan Zakkai, Rashi says that therefore, because of his institution, as we saw in the Mishnah before, so therefore because he was masakin at Zeichel HaMikdash, so therefore you don't need to make a bracha. Rabbi Yitzchak Omer Kol Yoyma mitzvah zakenim. Actually, every day is considered to be mitzvah zakenim, even on the first day. Rafil Yom Rishon. What do you mean? The Yom Rishon deraisa. First day is deraisa. So Ema Bar Yom Rishon. No, it means every day except for the first. What do you mean? Yachei had Rabbi Shimon Levi. Yeah, you're right. Ema v'chein Rabbi Yitzchak. Rabbi Yitzchak is in fact saying the exact same din. The Afar Rav Savar Kol Shiva Mitzvahs Lulav. Even Rav holds that when it comes to the mitzvah of Lulav, you make the bracha every single day. You make a bracha every time you shake the Lulav. Even though maybe it's the Rabbanan, you still need to make a bracha. Diyam Rav Chia Barashi, Omer Rav. And now we learn about another mitzvah which is Middur Rabbanan, namely the lighting of the Chanukiah. Hamadlik ner shel Chanukah sarach havarich, even though it's a din Rabbanan. Rav Yirmiyah Omer Haroyan ner shel Chanukah sarach havarich. If you see the ner shel Chanukah, even though you didn't light it, you also make a bracha. So Omer Rav Yehudar, Yom Rishon, and every kid knows this Gemara. Hamadlik, the one who lights the actual Chanukiah on the first night, Mevarach Shalish. He makes 3 brachos, which we'll discuss what they are in a second. Varoya Mevarach Shtayim, the one who sees it, he'll make 2 brachos. Mekan v'elech Hamadlik Mevarach Shtayim, Varoya Mevarach Achas. There's one less bracha that's said, which of course is Shechianu. Shechianu is only done the first time. So when it comes to someone who actually does the mitzvah, we know it's Lahadik Ner Shel Chanukah, Shanisim Avoseinu, and Shechianu. But when it comes to the Shtayim, if you only, if you're the person that you didn't actually light it, all you did was see it. So in that situation, and like you're walking in the Rosh Hashanah and you happen to come across it, so you you are Mavarch Shtayim, which is namely, of course, Shechianu, and also Shias Nisin. But the one who only sees it can't see Lahad Lekaner, because you're not the one that's actually doing the kindling. So my Mavarch, Baruch Hashem Mitzvah Vitzivanu, that you Hashem has commanded me. So the question is, it's only din the Rabbanan. So no, from Loi Sasser you can still say the brachas. So too, when it comes to the lulav, even though maybe it's the Rabbanan, still you can say the bracha. Rav Nachman bar Yitzchak Aimer Shalavicha v'Yagedcha. Okay. My Mamayit Zman, Ema Mamayit Nes Kol Yomi. Okay. Rav Nachman bar Yitzchak Masni Lo Behedi. He said explicitly, Omer Rav Kol Shima Mitzvah Lulav, that the mitzvah is all 7 days. Let's look at this Taisus. Ha'isa Sukkah Atz Mavarech Shechianu. Sarach Lefarish Tam Maishna Deish Mitzvah Shetikinu Mavarech Shechianu. Very important Taisus. We're not going to see the whole thing, but it discusses how come some mitzvahs we say Shechianu and some mitzvahs we don't say Shechianu. So he says, for example, by Pidin Aben Mavarech Shechianu V'ilu Amila Lo Mavarech. We don't make the bracha of Shechianu on bris milah. V'chein Akriyas Megillah Mavarech Shechianu. Also, when we do the Megillah, we do it. The question is, however, by Kriyas Halel, we don't say Shechianu. So he says, "V'nira de mitzvah sheish aleha simcha tiknu Shechianu." Anytime you have a mitzvah in which there is simcha attached to it, then you will say Shechianu. Okay. Also, he says, "To be inan midi di asim izman l'zman." It has to be something that comes from time to time. Okay, ayin toisus. Tanabah. Ha'isa sukkah l'atzmai. Omer baruch Shechianu. As we said, nichnas leisha, but you're sitting in the sukkah. Asher glishanu b'mitzvah, which of course we're not knowing to say the Shechianu when we're building the sukkah, as we're going to now see in a second. Let's say the sukkah was already made. So if you can maybe add a little bit to the sukkah, some schach or whatnot, then you can make the bracha. If not, when you actually go and sit on Yom Tov, the first night of Sukkot, then you make the bracha of Shechianu and Leishev. There, and I saw that Rav Kahana, when he made Kiddush on his cup, that he actually made both of them. He did everything then. And it's an interesting question. If you look at the various girsos of the nusach of Kiddush, some people will say Leishev before Shechianu one night, Shechianu, then the Leishev the next night, and it's totally on this concept that it's possible the chiyuv of the Shechianu may have actually have preceded the Leishev B'Sukkah on the first day, because some people actually made the Shechianu on the asiyas, on the making of the Sukkah. So therefore, it's possible that the Shechianu should precede the Leishev. Okay. Anyway, let's continue. Tanobanim. Hayu lefanav mitzvahs harbe. Let's say you have a lot of mitzvahs. Omer, just couple them all together. Ashbarach Hashem Rishon Mitzvah Mitzvah al mitzvahs. Rabbi Yehuda Omer, as we see in the Masechtas Brachos, Nevarech al kol achas achas b'tiyatzma. Every single thing needs to be done by itself. Omer Rav Zeh Rabbi Yitem Rav Chanina Bar Papa Hilchasa Rabbi Yehuda. We don't just lump all the mitzvahs together. The Omer Rav Zeh Rabbi Yitem Rav Chanina Bar Papa. My time Rabbi Yehuda. Why does he see this? What's the pasuk that supports this concept? That's it. Baruch Hashem Yom Yom. You have to bless Hashem every single day. So only a day and at a night. Every single day you're supposed to acknowledge the bracha of that day. Every day is unique. Every day is special. So Rashi says, Shel Shabbos, mein Shel Shabbos, Shel Chol, mein Shel Chol, Shel Yom Tov, mein Shel Yom Tov. Every single day has its own flavor, and therefore it should be acknowledged differently. Hachanami kol davar v'davar tein lo ein brachasa. When it comes to the mitzvahs, it should have its own bracha. Okay. Before we continue with the Gemara, let's look at the bottom Taisus. Haroy ner shel Chanukah asar chavarech. B'shar mitzvahs kigon alula v'sukkah v'lotikinu lavarech l'roya. It's very interesting. Only when it comes to the mitzvah of Chanukah, there is actually, according to this Gemara, there's a mitzvah to say brachos. Not even if you didn't do it, you just saw it. If you see someone shaking a lulav and esrog, You see someone eating a piece of matzah, you don't make a bracha by seeing it. So why is the Chanukiah different? So Taisa says, Gabi ner Chanuk mishum chavivus hanes, because the beauty and the love of the miracle. Gabi mishum sheish kama b'nei adam shein lahem batim. Some people are homeless. Ve'ein b'yadam mekayim hamitzvah. It's not shaykh for them to be able to do it. So Taisa says, v'tam risha nicha do a tikshli mezuzah. You can say, well, how about if you just walk by and you see a mezuzah? You're homeless. Maybe you should be able to make a bracha on the mezuzah. Okay. I ain't Taisus. Back to the Gemara. Which is the same Amoyer which is mentioned before. Come and see. The Hashem's way of interaction in this world is certainly not the way that we do. Midas basav adam kli reikon. If you have a person, you have an empty cup, as we continue to mem vavum and bays. So maksik. So it's able to hold something. If it's empty, you can put things in it. Mole inu maksik. Once it's full, that's it. My cup is completely full. You can't put anything in it. When it comes to Hashem, when it comes to Yer Shemayim, when it comes to mitzvahs, when it comes to spiritual matters, it's the opposite. Mole maksik, reikin inu maksik. If it's full, then more can be added to it, because there's already something of substance and spirituality, so you can add more ruchnias. However, something or someone who is empty, unfortunately, cannot be makabel anything. So what does that mean? If you hear, then you'll hear more. If you never heard, you're not makabel, you're not going to hear anything. If you heard it as old, so tishma b'chaydish, you're going to hear it as new. Says Rashi, makser al talmudecha sheshamas. You're going to end up, if you learn the old stuff, which means that you're reviewing the old stuff, then tischachem by lahavin devarim chadashim, mitak devarim yeshenim. Because you learn the stuff of the old, that you keep reviewing the old things, it's going to enable you to be able to learn new things as well. However, if you distance yourself, your heart, then you're not going to hear. So, of course, this shows you the importance of chazar. Miyad tinaitis. So he said, after the mitzvah of Lulav was basically over, these people were grabbing lavim and eating the sragim, which apparently means that you could do it on that day. On the seventh day, you're not allowed to eat this esrog, because it was the same day in which was designated for a mitzvah, and therefore once it was designated on the seventh day as well, so we say that all 7 days is katsi, it's designated. However, shmini mutter, because on the 8th day we don't take a lulav and esrog, so therefore you could eat the esrog on the 8th day. Sukkah, afil b'shmini asura. When it comes to a sukkah, you cannot take the schach and use it as firewood, for example. So we see a distinction when it comes to lulav and sukkah. No. Even on the 7th day, it's okay. Once you're done with the mitzvah, that's it. So when focusing on the lulav and the esrog, so why can you eat the esrog on the 7th day or not? It's totally is it the whole day is it designated, and therefore you have to refrain from eating it the entire 7th day because you did the mitzvah of lulav and esrog on the 7th day, or we say no, once you did the mitzvah, it's over. So here's a question. The Mishnah says, that they would eat the esrog. My love huadin ligadolim. Apparently, also adults would do this, and therefore it's completely allowed. Well, tinaikas dafka, only the little kids did it, and therefore it's not a raya that this is something in which is acceptable. Again, the question is why would we allow the kids to do it? We see that only the kids would do it, but not the adults. So we see as a raya that adults are not allowed to. Well, that's not true. Really, the adults are able to do it as well, because the mitzvah was done, and that's it. Doesn't matter. It's still the 7th day. Alright, so why is it mentioned kids? Adults aren't running around grabbing a sroigim. So this is something that kids generally do, so therefore it uses the example in which is typically used for kids. Says Rashi, Tinaikas dafka, why? Shul huksa la mitzvah gemura, because it was not completely huksa. It's interesting the way the Rashi explains. There is a distinction between kids and adults. The adults, they actually are the ones that are mechuyev b'davar to do the mitzvah. So it's a skatzi chol yoim. However, when it comes to a kid, because they're not mechuyev b'davar, so therefore we don't say that there's the same restrictions of the entire day. Okay. So why do we make a distinction, as we saw above, between the sukkah and the esrog? That when it comes to the sukkah, it's even usher on the 8th day. So why? Sukkah is only for 7 days. So why is the 8th day a problem? So we know that a sukkah you can eat any time. The mitzvah is the whole day, and therefore maybe you're eating, and it's still now ben shmashis between the 7th and 8th night. The isram ilisudasa boy mesim begava umechel bo begava. If let's say you're about to eat a meal, so you have to eat it in the sukkah, and we say iskatzu ben shmashis, it's already designated by this twilight time. We don't know Suffik Yom Salayla, it's the 7th and the 8th. And therefore, because of that, it already has taken upon itself that it's designated also on the 8th day. Esrog, you have to shake the lulav and esrog while it's day, for sure. And therefore, interestingly enough, that's the reason why the esrog no one's going to hold an issue on the 8th day, because you can't shake it during Ben Shmashos. Question 12. Miyamasai esrog shel mitzvah mutter bahana u'ma stadim zeh. L'chad ma'never mishvi acher shiyatza boy mutter lo huksa el mitzvasai. L'chad ma'never amar kol shvi aser shehuksa l'kol yama. L'chad ma'never kol shmini aser d'mingin nesasa Ben Shmashos mishum suffik shvi. So it's, again, either immediately afterwards you can do it. Some say it's the whole 7th day, or even maybe, again, according to one opinion, which we're going to see right now, the Levi Omer Esr Gafil B'Shmini Aser, right? He holds even the 8th day is Aser, and the reason is he holds Migud and Neser B'Min Hashmashos Mishum Suffik Shvi. Okay, fine. If you look in this Rashi, Esr Gafil B'Shmini Asura Migud Asir Ben Hashmashos T'Shmini Mishum Devin Hashmashos Suffik Yoimhu Shvi Iskatsi Kol Yoima. Kivan Ben Hashmashos Asura Yafagav Doli Chazah Ben Hashmashos Asura Kol Yoima. Interesting. Even though you're not allowed to shake it, still it's going to ask it the rest of the time. The Abu Dishmul Omer Esr B'Shmini Mutter B'Shmini Mutter. He says when it comes to an esrog, the 7th day entirely is also, but the 8th is allowed. Kal Abu Dishmul B'Shitasi the Levi. So Shmuel got up. Abu Dishmul got up and he paskin like the sheet of Levi that the esrog is even usher on the 8th day. Come Rav Zer b'Shitasi the Abishol, the Abishmul. He paskin like the opinion of Abu Dishmul that the 8th day is mutter. Yom Rav Zer esrog shenifsala. If you have an esrog that's possible. Also, achol kol shiva. So you're not allowed to eat it all 7 days. Rav Zer lo likni inish hoishana liyanuka b'yom tova kama. If let's say you have your lulav and esrog, before you bench lulav and esrog, you make up the bracha, the mitzvah, don't give it to your kids first. My taima, dinuka matikani, aknui loy makni. They have the ability to acquire something, but they don't have the legal capacity to give you something. And therefore, what ends up happening is it's a requirement of lachem. They can't give it back to you as a matana. They don't have the legal capacity to be able to do so. As Rashi says, you have to be a bardas to be able to do it. And therefore, first you do the mitzvah, then maybe afterwards you can give it to your kid. Don't say to your kid you're going to give him something, you end up not giving it. Like Muri Shikr, because you're going to end up teaching him to lie. So again, the notion, very powerful thing, sometimes we teach our children to lie and we don't even realize it. We promise them things that we don't deliver, but we may forget, but they're not going to forget. Your child picks up the phone and you say, you know what, tell them I'm not here. So even though it's seemingly innocent, you're actually teaching your child to lie. And you have to be careful what comes out of your mouth, because you are their role model and they're going to be emulating your actions. But pluted Rav Yochanan Rav Shimon ben Lakish. Yitmar. Him for Shiva Esrogehin with Shiva Yomim. Let's say a person, for whatever reason, we saw people could have to actually inherit an esrog, was so uncommon. So let's say you have 7 esrogim, I'm going to use 1 for each day. So Omarab, Kolach V'achas Yoytze B'V'Achal Alter. You can fulfill the mitzvah, and then you can eat it on that day. Rabbi Asi Omer, Kolach V'achas Yoytze B'V'Achal Machar. You can only eat it the next day. So it's like we said before. So my commitment, what's the machlokas? Mar Sevel Mitzvah Skati. It's only for the mitzvah. Once the mitzvah is done, you can use it. Mar Sevel Kol Yom Skati. It's that whole day it's been designated, and therefore you cannot use until the next day. V'anan, and we who live in Eretz Yisrael, the Yisrael and Shrei Yoima, Hey Chavdina, what do we do? So Rabbi Shmini, and we're going to talk more about this in tomorrow's daf. Shmini suffix Shvi Aser. On the 8th day, in which is a doubt, is it the 7th day? So it's Aser. She suffix Shmini Mutter. If it's the 9th day, well, it's already Simchas Torah for us. So then the suffix Shmini is that day, which is the 9th, which is a doubt, maybe it's the 8th, so that is mutter. So we are lenient when it comes to Simchas Torah, but on Shmini Atzeres not, because again, that's the whole idea of Sefer Yoima. Shmini Atzeres, it's a suffix Shvi. The 9th day is a suffix Shmini, so certainly if it's the 9th day, so on the 8th it's not Sukkos. Meremar, Merafil Shmini suffix Shmini mutter. Says no. Even the 8th day, Shmini Atzeres, it's mutter. Basur Adi Kamaremar, Rav Sheshi Berei the Rav, Avidi, Idi Ovid Kabaya, the Hilchas of Kabaya, and the Halachas of Kabaya, that Shmini, suffix Shmini is Aser, but She, suffix Shmini, is mutter. Okay, we're going to stop there. We're going to talk more about what the dinim is of sitting in a sukkah on Shmini Atzeres. We're going to see that in tomorrow's daf. But let's see a couple questions over here. Question 12, we did. So let's move on to TA 26. Mosai mevarchin and shtei brachos b'ner Chanukah. When do we say 2 brachos on Ner Chanukah? Ve'elu hein. So it's an interesting question. You can say on the other. Let's see how he writes it. There's 2 answers really. Hamadlik, the one who lights it, biyom sheni ve'elach. So it's a little tricky. On the 2nd night, as we know, you mevarach lahadik v'shasanisim. The roeh is mevarach on the 1st night shasanisim and shachianim. So it's a great question actually. We'll see that tomorrow's daf. Mas question TB 27. Masvaras mandi armer sukkah yom echad levracha. Masvaras mandi armer lulav yom echad levracha. So this question we already saw. As we said, perhaps sukkah is the right, so lulav is the rabbanan, and therefore sukkah is every day, or we say fakert because sukkah there's no hefsek, so therefore you only make 1 bracha lulav because they have the night which interrupts. So maybe you have to make a bracha lulav every single day. Adkan.